the comparison to traditional finance, I would say the one big difference that crypto has is that it's actually all transparent. So you can't quite have a crash like the GFC, because the GFC, all these kind of like bad assets were opaque, right? Like people didn't see until it was too late that it was like this bunch of bad mortgages wrapped up and sold as high quality securities.
But I wonder if that's true, because I think those bad mortgages only became bad mortgages when the price of houses dropped. Like before that, they were fine mortgages.
Okay, yeah. I mean, had you actually kind of like, I guess it's like The Big Short, right? Had you gone to those areas and sort of like taken the pulse of the area, you would have sort of said, well, this isn't really like a AAA security. This is like a risky thing that's been resold and kind of rebranded.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah. So, but your asset, like if we compare it to The Big Short, where they have the houses, right? Your asset is the asset backing all of this is, the big crypto coins like Ether and Bitcoin, and they're sort of the barometer that I typically use to see if we're in a bubble or not is how many bots are spamming my comments for people to buy crypto, and how many of my neighbors who know nothing about finance are talking about crypto.
Yeah.
But I still think you could have that, though. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is like, because the foundation that you're building on is really based on pure trust. Like I know that people say money is based on trust, but there I usually say, okay, but what trust in what, right? Trust of what type? And fiat money, when the government issued, I think is based on the trust that you can buy something useful from the government with that. That's why fiat currencies typically collapse when the government collapses, right? In Zimbabwe, you cannot get much useful stuff from the government anyway. But here, for example, in Belgium, I can pay my taxes in euros. That's something that backs that. Whereas like sort of the money that you're building on, I would say is more of a pure trust currency, because it's only about if people think that it will hold its value or increase in value in the future. Do you see what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has to, one way or another, the cryptocurrencies, the kind of native ones, like the core ones like Ether, they have to bootstrap trust. It doesn't come from, it's not there at the start, right? And it has to be built over time. But I do think the longer it survives, it's kind of a Lindy thing, right? This concept of like, the longer something survives, the more likely it will survive. I think there's something to that.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, yeah. You can see that already a little bit with something like Bitcoin, perhaps, right? It just has so much name recognition that even if it falls for a long time, it hasn't yet completely crashed, whereas some altcoins have maybe gone to zero.
Yes, definitely. And every time it sort of crashes and bounces back, or even ends up higher than it's crashed, that actually builds confidence, because people can look back and say, it's how many times has it crashed and come out stronger or survived at least. So I think like the transparency on the blockchain is important as well, because you can actually see every transaction. It's all public. And you can, like with liquidity, you can immediately see when something is under collateralized and deal with that bad debt. I think that's one really cool aspect of the blockchain, is that just everything is visible to everybody, and unhealthy positions are kind of exposed early on.